Hi, everyone. Oh, people are here already. This is great. I'm just waiting for my sister to join us. Hi. Hey, that's my sister.
Hi.
Fancy. Yeah. Um, I'm
Morning.
I'm really loving these like 90 vibe pigtails. I'm really here for this.
Thank you. I figured if we're going to talk about children, I may as well channel my inner child.
I love this idea.
So here we are.
Here we are. You look like 10 years younger than you do on a normal basis.
Thank you.
I'm here for it. I want to be a part of it. I want to be a
Thanks.
part of
Why
it.
don't you put your hair in pigtails? We can do it together. Or do Greta's hair like this today.
Actually, Greta has I'm having a hair day. It's like just so frizzy. Greta has two like little pigtails like right here today.
Yay.
It's really cute.
Is
I'll
she
show
in
you later.
school?
So it's spring break right now, and I gotta say, I'm excited for spring break to be over.
Oh, you're one of those parents.
I love my kids so much, but like it's been hard to balance. Noah and I are still trying to do work, and like it's hard when your kid doesn't have anywhere to go all day. I mean, it seems obvious in a pandemic when so many parents have been suffering through this for a year now. A whole year, people are losing their minds. So I have no complaints, really. I have no complaints, except that I'm tired.
Where are you home or are you on set now?
I'm at home right now. I'm going to go to work later. Let's
Okay.
just bring people in to what's happening.
Bring them. Let's center ourselves.
Let's center ourselves. So we have a few people that have joined us. I bet some more are going to join. I bet. Or not. And that's cool too, because I just like talking to you. So my sister and I are almost 10 years apart. Hannah is like 9.5 years younger. We have the same mother, different fathers. However,
I haven't known a different kind of sister, so you're basically the same as a normal sister.
Yeah, like for all the feelings and reasons, like we are full sisters. I think the only time it feels like, oh, we're not full sisters is when I like have to go deal with my other dad.
Right.
And then you're like, oh, right, you have another dad.
But I still feel like, I mean, that doesn't ever feel to me like a separation, like when you talk about your dad. Like,
no, it's kind of like an uncle. Like
that's like
someone's
part of your life.
Yeah.
Because like we were also raised by the same grandma on your dad's side. Yeah. And so from a very young age, I was integrated into
my Portuguese side.
Your Portuguese side. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
So it never felt like this weird side of the family, is because I was always just a part of it, and you were like same with dad. So
yes, this is true. So my father's side is Portuguese, and my paternal grandmother raised Hannah like her own. I mean, helped raise.
Yeah, well, yeah, was our grandmother.
Yeah. Was our grandmother, even though they were not blood related. And likewise on our Jewish side, which is your father's side, all the Chicago Jews, I'd say most of them.
Most of them, not all of them, but like Aunt Debbie and
they all took me in as their own as a 7-year-old little girl, and so we have a very we feel full sister. But today we're going to talk about babies and having children, and if we want to have children, and why we want to have children, and why we don't want to have children, and all that stuff. And I think it's interesting because all I wanted as a little girl was my own little baby. And when you were born, you were a little preemie. You came home at 5 pounds, and I was just a 9.5-year-old little muffin myself. And it was like the best gift that's ever happened. It was like the heavens opened up, and you were this like angel child,
this like weird alien preemie. Angel.
Yeah, you were like an alien, and I was so happy.
Still am.
And I just remember like you were my baby. Like I just felt like all the things. And then, okay, so then cut to you later in life. You have mentioned to me, you have said on multiple occasions, I never want to have kids. I don't want to have kids. And I always thought that was such a strange foreign concept, because
you always wanted.
There was never a doubt. There was never a question. I knew I was going to. It was just like not even an up for debate. It was just this like, oh, I have to do that.
Right.
And so I want to tell me about, because I also want to talk about some other stuff that involves, you know, late friends that have babies later in life and what women have to deal with in their jobs and their works. But on a personal level, tell me how you felt and feel now.
Great. Well, it's a multifaceted, like there's so many things to say. First,
let's get into it.
We
let's
can
dive
just get
deep
to like the base level of the feelings of when, like, okay, when you were a kid, before you were even thinking about motherhood or partnership or marriage, you loved children, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I never felt that way. Like
right.
innately in my body as a kid, as a teen, when I saw kids, it was like, more of like a nuisance. It was like, like right. I don't want to like be this child hating person. I do love a child. First of all, let's just talk about how much I love Greta. Like we can just
you have love in you, but you're just one of those people that just doesn't want to love all children all the time.
Yeah, like when I see a baby, I'm like, cute. I'm not like, I want to hold it, give it to me. Right. I don't have that in me for children. I have that in me for dogs.
Yes. Or cows.
Or cows. That's just where my DNA sits with the love for cute things.
Yes.
So that is already such a big difference. Like you, as a kid from such an early age, had that in you.
Right.
And so it was like a fun thing to think about for your future because of how much you loved children.
Yes. Right.
So I never had that like loving child feeling.
Do you think it was because you were a younger sibling, or that would have happened whether you were an older sibling or not?
I don't think that mattered because growing up, I saw the difference of people like me and people like you and my friends. Right. So I know it's just kind of something that people either have or they don't. Like my friend Alyssa, for example, she has known she's wanted to be a kindergarten teacher. She's known she's wanted to be a mom her whole life.
Yeah.
And then there's people like me and my, like a couple of my other friends who are just like, it happens, sure, but like it's not something that I'm like stoked about.
So is that what you feel today? You feel like if it happens and it's the right guy, great, but this is not something that you're like, know that you need to do?
Yeah, I don't feel called to motherhood. I feel called to, I feel called in life, if we're going to talk about being a role model or somebody to be loving and nurturing to people, I feel called to do that in other ways.
Right.
I feel called to do that for Greta.
Yeah.
But I don't feel called to like parent Greta or like mother Greta. I feel called to raise Greta and give her space.
Like be an influence for her.
Yeah. So that's how I feel in my life.
Do you feel pressure from, like, the question that I immediately want to ask is kind of annoying because I feel like women get this question all the time, which is, oh, you're young, you'll change your mind.
Yeah, which is why
or it'll be the right guy and then you'll want babies. And both of those things might be true, but if it's not true, that kind of sucks to put that on a young woman who might not change their mind. And then are you going to think something's wrong with you?
Here's the thing. We can talk about like the societal pressure of having children, but I first want to talk about how I don't feel like I'm going to want to have a kid until biologically it might be too late. And I think that's a different kind of topic because I feel like I will at some point in my later life, once I've like really accomplished all the things I really want to accomplish and I feel fully, the thing is I'm too self-aware to kind of have this nice vision of being so okay in my own soul and so evolved in my own self to then feel fully ready to give that to another kid.
Yes.
Or give that to a child. I'm so self-aware that if I were to have a baby in the next 4 years, I would still have so much growing to do as a person. Yeah. And I wouldn't want to do that and figure out how to raise a kid until I am ready to give that kid 100,000,000,000% of me.
I think that is, well, it's extremely selfless of you, right? Because like you're taking it, that role, so seriously.
I
And
don't think it's a role to take lightly.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think so many people have children to complete a family, or to, I mean, this is, I
Or
don't
even
want to
subconsciously, just
judgmental.
because they're supposed to, like family pressure,
Yeah.
then you got to have
Or
the
it's
baby.
like the
That's
next step, and
yeah.
it's like beautiful. But
Right.
but to me, raising a kid, especially in a world where we don't really need more children,
True.
is so much more important to do it the right way than to just do it because it's the thing to do.
Yep.
And so I feel like the only time I'm going to be ready to do it in the way that I want, and everyone who's watching, this is a very much personal experience. This is not something I'm saying you all must be ready.
But that's
to
the
do
point of this conversation, is that we're all so different.
Yeah. So I think I personally feel like I'm going to be in my 40s and then be ready to have a kid. And that's when it gets difficult, because we've got literal biological ticking clocks.
Yeah.
So
I hear all of that. And I feel like I felt exactly the same, even though I always knew I wanted to have kids. I still knew, like, you know, I was in a relationship for 6 years in my 20s with someone who was fantastic. And I just knew I wasn't ready yet. Like, I could have had a kid in my early 20s and I chose not to. Like, that's because I knew I wasn't like the mom I was.
Right. You weren't the mom you wanted to be yet. Yeah.
Yeah. And like thinking back now, me in my early 20s, no way. Now this brings up another conversation, right? Because there's a good friend who lives around here in Vancouver that we've become friends with in like the neighborhood park kids stuff. And she's 25 and she has 2 kids. She has one Greta's age and a little baby. And at first I was like, you're 25? You have 2 kids? What? And a part of me just judged immediately. That was like, oh my God, you're early 20s. Like,
yeah.
Like
because that was your experience.
Because that was my experience, that I needed those 20s. And and I checked myself, right? And I was like, wow, she knew. She was so clear on her vision that she wanted to be a young mom. She had found the right partner. And again, not that that's my opinion. You don't need a right partner, but like you can do this on your own. But she felt like she had the support, the love, and that was right for her family. And now she can, when the kids are out of the house, she's gonna be still
she's gonna
so much of her life left. So what a great thing that journey is for her. But I think we put on this like expectation. But when you were talking about 40s, you know, Noah is almost 10 years older than me, my husband, for those who don't know Noah's name. And a lot of his friends didn't have kids until their 40s. And so a lot of Greta's same age group friends are, their parents are 40s. And I feel like having that around me makes me feel so secure in the fact that I have time to have more. Because I think if you're only surrounded by the age group in which you are, you can kind of feel like, oh my God, time's running out.
Everyone's having their second kid. Like,
oh my God, I'm 34. If I'm going to do this, I better do this now. It's so much pressure on either end, right?
Yeah. And I do also want to say I love the story about your 25-year-old friend, because so many people have kids young, and that's their journey and that's their calling. And it's like, for me, I feel like, oh man, I want to have a life before a child. But some people want to have a child and have that be their life. And like, that is beautiful and so valid. And I think there's something really cool about raising a kid when you're young, because you guys get to like grow in that really unique way together.
Yeah.
And so I think for someone like me, who's never really been drawn to children in general, it makes sense that I just like want to wait, because I'm not like, I need this little chicken nugget, you know, like,
yeah.
But for people who know and who want that life path, like, what a beautiful way to be ready in your own, is to have that passion in general. And like, love is enough for a kid. Like, all you need is to love your kid, you know?
I also feel like I'm reminded of this story a lot, and feel like really, it makes me feel really fortunate because a friend of ours, she's, I don't know how old she is now, but she's a very successful music editor. She works in post production, so she's got an Oscar. Like, she works with some of the biggest directors and producers in the business, and I think it's sound mixing or sound editing. I'm not sure. I know that they're different. And I asked her, how come you never had children? We were speaking in a safe place. I don't think that question is appropriate to ask women, like that's their business.
Yeah.
But we were talking about this specific topic. Yeah. And she said that it wasn't her choice, that she didn't make the decision that she wanted a baby and didn't want a baby. She just, unfortunately, time chose for her because she was so driven, and she had to stay through the night with all of these men who didn't have to race home to be with their children, in the audio booth, in the post-production booth, and put in the hours to get where she is. She's like I think she's the only female who's ever won an Oscar in post and sound.
Wait, are we talking about?
Yeah, I don't want to say her name.
Okay.
Just in case, but that's her story to tell.
Yeah.
If she wants to give her identity away. But I feel like
I just realized who you're talking about.
Yeah, but I feel like she would be very open, because the reason I'm talking about this is that she did say, this wasn't a choice I made. I she was so career driven, and she was so talented. But then all of a sudden the choice was made for her because it got too late. And I just feel like we're putting these pressure on women, too young, too old. And what a burden that we can face sometimes with trying to have our careers be equal to men, but something has to sacrifice for that to happen sometimes.
I mean, what a beautiful example of like that you are for people who have really beautiful careers and children, because you and Noah are so equal as parents, and I feel like you both have really found this beautiful balance and of parenting Greta and making sure that each of you can still have your careers and build that in the way that you want. Not that doesn't come with challenges, but I think some of the biggest things about women not wanting to have kids is this feeling of, like, even me saying I want to accomplish so much before doing that, right? Just by me saying that, it kind of builds into the societal norm that, like, if you have a child as a woman, there will be something that you kind of have to sacrifice in your career. I know that we talked about this last time, that you experienced that in the first year of Greta's life, because obviously the baby feeds off of you, and there's like so much a woman biologically has to be responsible for that a man can't. And so it is so much more to juggle, and I think we've come really far as a society as far as treating women having children in the workforce, but there's a lot more room for that. I think it just gets complicated.
Yeah, every job has its own perks and its own difficulties with this. I was listening to that podcast, Nurture versus Nurture, which I love. And it was a lesbian couple that lives in Sweden. And no matter a male or a woman, both parents get like 9 months child leave, just as a society. Doesn't matter if you're a husband, wife, 2 moms, 2 dads, whatever. You have a child, you get to have that time. And that in their society, like, no babies are in daycare before like a year old, because everybody's at home with their babies. That they've given that priority to early education, early support for mothers. I want to circle back to when I got pregnant with Greta. I wasn't really searching for work for the first little bit, but I was really ready at a certain time. I think when she was around a year old, I started to feel ready, and I stopped nursing. And I know actors work all the time with their babies on set and stuff. That just wasn't my situation. I was between jobs, so I could just stay home. And I got offered a movie, and this was before when I was pregnant. I got offered a movie and I said yes. And I was like, remember this? I was 4 months pregnant, I think. I was barely showing. And I said yes. And I said, just so you know, I'm pregnant, but I'm not showing, and I'll basically see you there.
Yeah.
And they declined the offer, which is totally illegal. Like, you can't decline an offer based on someone being pregnant. And we got into it. Lawyers were involved, but because it shot in Canada, they had different like rules. And it was basically, they cried insurance, like that they couldn't insure me. And I'm like,
right.
Women are pregnant on set working all day, every day, all hundreds.
Yeah, wasn't there like one scene you had to do like a baby fall or something? Like you had to fall or fight?
Yeah, they blamed it on like stunt work, and but there were no stunts. Like, I came off Nikita doing stunts. I read the script. I'm like,
yeah, there was like
not an insurance issue, guys.
Yeah.
Like, you hire a body double if you're really that concerned.
Right.
And it was really like, and again, as a white woman, this was like a very few moments in my life that I felt prejudice happen against me, right? Because of our privileges in society.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta say, like, I was like, what the fuck?
I remember. I also remember how sad it was because you were like getting into it with them and trying to understand why the offer was declined. And at the end of the day, I remember you being like, even if they come back to me and they're like, okay, like, sounds good. What a weird way to start a relationship with a production. Like, what an unhealthy
Yeah, well, that was the
start.
thing. Am I going to fight them with lawyers and then show up on set and be like,
you must love me now? It's like,
I don't want to be a part of that production. It was always obviously for the best, but just what we, and all, that's not a unique situation. Like, my story is just one of so many of women being told that they can't do the job well enough or whatever.
Right.
Do you feel like, because we're both millennials, but we're like on opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, I get to choose. Like today, for example, I chose to be Gen Z with my
Oh,
hair.
did you? I love it.
I think my year is the cutoff of Gen Z.
Yeah.
And so I just get to choose.
Yeah, and
whatever.
I feel like I'm a millennial, but like other millennials seem so much different than me.
Yes.
It's just a weird way to encapsulate a moment. But to say all of this to say, like, do you think there's a big difference in traditionalism, like in how my generation views relationships? Because I have a lot of friends who are in their 40s who had babies late that never got married. These are successful careers, beautiful, multiple children, and like marriage is just they got together when they were 40 or whatever. Someone needed to have a baby and like time was running out. They have the kids now. Like, do you need the marriage? Like, what is the point? Like, I do feel like my generation seems to be a lot less, or maybe it's my career, right? Maybe it's the people in the business
field.
In my world, that marriage is sort of less of a importance that you do right before having babies. Do you, what's going on in your generation?
I can only talk about like my friends, because I don't want to talk about younger Gen Zers or like,
right.
I'm just trying to talk about girls that are early 20s.
Right. Right.
And in my experience, we are all very much looking forward to marriage and finding the one. And I think when we were younger, I think as we've gotten older, that's changed, because I remember being younger with my friends and being like, oh, I don't want to get married. Like, what a commitment. Like, we're this new generation of open relationships. And like, it was this very, let's just be fluid and like whatever we want to do, we can do, and multiple partners and whatever. But in my experience, as I've gotten older, and I think we've all gotten into a couple committed relationships, it feels much more realistic and like romantic to have that one partner, and to get married.
So it's still, you feel like in your community, there's still that desire for marriage.
Yeah. But I also have friends who have been with a single partner for like 4 years and still call themselves having an open relationship, and like they've set up really amazing, guidelines for their relationships and it works for them. But I feel like people are finding their person, and they're just kind of like allowing other things to happen if they like feel that way, or they're just like, we're not going to get married, but this is my person. But I feel like my generation really does value like finding a partner to share things with in a way that doesn't feel like picket fence 9 to 5 job.
Right. Well,
They
it's creating our own narrative, right? Because I feel like these generations, you go through these cycles, right? Of like, this is what society tells you, man and woman must marry young, have kids young, and then you've got the next generation that sort of like rebels against that. Like we sort of go in this,
you know what I think? I think my generation, at least from my own experience, is finding the beauty of partnership while being very conscious of individualism, which I think is kind of an idea of like, I'm going to have my own career, I'm going to have my own life, and I'm so happy that I'm fully whole in myself and get to then share that with you. Instead of it being this like dependency of like the guy or the, you know, whoever goes to work, someone raises the kid. I feel like it's become something where I think my generation is honestly just becoming very evolved spiritually in a way that I haven't seen in other generations quite. I feel like this year people are just growing so much in themselves.
Yeah.
And they're bringing that into their relationships.
Well, I know that, you know, in Noah's mom's generation, right, the 70s, like they met in a commune, right? This like free expression, this communal living, that we're in this together, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like a sex cult or something weird. It was like real communal
no one
living.
Thought that.
Well, people, no, that's not true, Hannah. You say commune, people are like, oh, they're just all having sex with each other. And I'm sure everyone did have sex with each other, but that wasn't.
Oh my.
That wasn't the point. That wasn't the point of the commune. But all this to say, at that moment, they were that young generation of saying, you know what, we're going to live our life differently. We're not going to be held to these
we
ideas.
might not be that different. We might
but as society changes, right, our technology changes, relationship changes, we've got, you know, we're trying to be more open to all. I mean, I don't think in their mind there was awareness yet of even like transgenders and like things like that. Like we're still like, we're opening it up more and more and more, trying to include everybody. Well, at least some of us are. But I also want to just say that the cool thing about having this conversation is that the fact that we can even have this conversation. Yeah. Like we are having this about whether we want to have children, don't want to have children,
not
because of our choice over our own bodies. So like, I just want to put that out there, that this conversation, if you're listening and you're interested and you're like, oh yeah, do I want to be a young mom? Do I want that? We couldn't have that conversation.
Yeah.
That wasn't a conversation you could have. Yeah. So
I also, I mean, I didn't really touch on what you asked before of like, do you find it annoying when people ask you like, do you want kids or whatever? I don't find the question annoying at all. I think it's a great conversation to have. What is funny to me, and I use the word funny because I just don't live in this world, like this mindset, but when I'm like, I don't think I want kids, and like, you know, maybe much later, but it's not something I'm passionate about, and people go, oh, what? Like, you'd be an amazing mom. Like, you'd be an amazing mom is usually the sentence that comes after. And
you're like, really, but that's not what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, like, I mean, I'm sure I'd be good at it if I were doing it, but that's not why I would want to have a kid, is because I'd be an amazing mom. Like, right. You know, it's like, that's so sweet, but why is that the whole reason of, like, having a kid isn't the reason of, I mean, I want to ask you, like, why did you want a child? Like, point blank.
That's a good question. You know, there's two parts to this.
Okay.
One is in consideration for women out there who don't know so adamantly. And I feel like those women are not valued enough. Like for me, it wasn't a reason. It was just like, I know I'm a female, just like I know I want to be a performer. There are just things that you know in your heart.
It was just
who I am was I'm going to be a mother. I am a mother. That's just like in me. I don't know why. It's just like, that's who I am. Now, that being said, I also really love child psychology. I read a book about every stage in Greta's developmental step she has. I'm fascinated by attachment theories and non-attachment theories and sleep training and non-sleep training and, you know, the conscious parenting things, the creating strict boundaries, like all of these concepts. And I don't really subscribe to one theory or another. I love to just understand the different specialists who have studied children, and I like to find my own balance and things that fit for me and feel truthful to me. I feel like having a kid is an opportunity to grow as a person. Greta is showing me all of my triggers. She's amplifying my weaknesses and my strengths because she's living her own little truth, and I have to orbit around it. And how do I be the best mom I can be means how do I be really truly centered? Like, studies have shown that children are healthily attached to their parents and have a good, strong system and foundation to thrive in their life when the mother, usually the mother, studies have been done with men, but I'm talking about a study of females, when the mother is truly centered and simply exists purely to have the enjoyment of their child. Now, so think of all the different ways you can parent and all the different methods and all the things, and all that really matters is that you're there with your kid and they truly feel like they're the apple of your eye.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that actually is harder than it sounds, right? We're so swept up with anxiety. We're so swept up with all the things we have to do, or we're dealing with so much. That for me is this incredible meditation. Like, being a parent is like a full meditation on centeredness.
Staying present with your kid.
It makes me be a better person.
Yeah.
And I don't always win. Like, I fail all the time at it, but it's like something to strive for.
You're constantly learning and you're constantly being better for her, with her.
And I will say back to my friend who said, I just wish I knew. And I just was like, oh my God, right. How selfish of me to not know that women every day are forced with this conundrum and this feeling like they need to know, they need to choose. Am I trying to find the guy to have a kid? Is that what I want? What if I wake up one day and I'm 80 and I never had a kid and I'm going to be so upset about it? Or
that's what people say to me.
Yes. You're going to regret it. You're going to regret that decision, Hannah.
You're going to die alone.
Yes. But you know what? That so sucks that we have to make that choice. Like, why can't we just allow women to not know? Like, I looked at my friend and I said, you know, I'm so glad I know, but I hope no one makes you feel like there's something wrong with you, that you're not certain either way.
Yeah. Or if you are certain in the opposite way.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, do you think having children is a selfish act because women and families have children for the reason of completing the family, not dying alone, having someone to take care of you when you're older? Like, are we bringing kids into this world for the benefit of the adults, or is it are we bringing a kid into the world to benefit them? Like, what do you think about that?
First, tell me what time it is. I don't know how to check the time.
It's 10:05.
Right. Well, I think that's really is a general statement that I think is an important question. I actually think that question is what every parent should be asking before they start having unprotected sex, trying to have kids. Like, that is really the question. What is the motive here? And is it the right motive?
Right.
And I think it varies from family to family.
Do you think that having your baby was for you more than where do you feel like for you that is? And this is not a judgment on selfish doesn't mean bad. It just means is that what you wanted versus
Right. I mean, I think the selfish reason is actually the greatest reason, because if you don't 100% need to have a kid because that is absolutely what you want to do, then you should not have a kid, right?
Right.
So like, yes, Noah and I equally felt very passionate about that, making a family and making that life for someone. And I think also we're very passionate about the future. And so how do we raise a person who's going to better the future?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think about this. This is a great question because I think about it all the time when thinking about having more. Is I have really debated whether or not we should adopt for our second one, because I feel like it's selfish of us to create a person that doesn't exist when there's already kids out there. And I go back and forth with, well, there's no shortage of babies. Like there's people are adopting babies left, right, and center. There's no like room full of baby. Like you have to be on wait lists. It's like very, very difficult to get babies. Now that being said,
Babies, yes.
Babies, older kids are surplus. Like we have so many children that need to be adopted, 5 and above. Then I think, but I don't, how is that going to affect Greta? Right. So I get really torn between that would be the right thing to do to help another child, but that's going to come with a lot of work, you know, this child's past, and how can I want to do that. I want to better that kid's life, but I have
But
to
are you
also,
in the position to do it in the way that would be helpful?
And I don't think I am with our traveling. I mean, it's like a kid that's coming out of a foster care system. I mean, they need stability. They need so much that our weird circus life is not for everyone. Like we are living the life of circus clowns, you know? So I feel very torn about it, and maybe my mind will change, and maybe by the time Greta and number 2 are grown, we'll feel in a place where they're fine and we can adopt an older kid. And it's
that's what our parents thought about for a while. They, you know, as I got older, they were really seriously considering adopting an older child. I think they even like talked to agencies about it. So yeah,
I think it means, I feel, especially having friends who have adopted, same-sex couples who have adopted, it's just such a incredible, beautiful gift to give to a child, and what beautiful lives they have together. So I think it's a great question that you're asking, like, who's benefiting this decision, right? Are we having kids for selfish reasons? And I think ultimately you definitely don't want to have a kid to save your marriage, because that's the opposite that's going to happen. It's the opposite. But
well,
again,
I think it's an important story. It's an important question to bring up from my experience, because if the answer is, in a good way, it's a selfish reason, because you should, you know, want a kid to have a kid, right?
Yeah.
So in my case, I don't like feel compelled and like driven for that narrative. So it would almost be worse if it wasn't a selfish decision for me, because then I would just be like, okay, next chapter of life, I got married, like I guess this is what's next. And then it's just like,
I just hope you know that, like, you may, as long as you feel open, like as a big sister, all I would say is, like, as long as you feel open to either side of it, because if you find that person and it clicks with you, I don't want you to be like, but I was the person that never wanted kids. Oh, I'm going against my grain. Like, don't put in those,
I don't think so.
those rules. And then on the other side of the spectrum, you could find someone who has no interest in being a parent, and you could be like, great, let's have a great life traveling and like experiencing the world, and you don't need to.
Well, that brings up another question, which actually is like something, I mean, neither me or my partner right now are like obviously ready to get married and have a kid, but like I talk with my boyfriend all the time about just like what we want for our future, and he definitely wants kids. Like that's something he sees life path.
Right.
And so it's interesting how me not wanting kids affects the idea of a future together, right?
Yes.
Because I don't feel that way. And he's like, well, you know, how much of this relationship is going to be haunted by the idea that we're not going to share the same idea of family? And so that's difficult for me, because I'm not at an age yet where where I feel ready to have a kid, and I'm not a woman that's like definitely gonna want a family later, not right now, but definitely later. I don't feel that that might be true. And so it's going to be interesting as I date and grow and find my person, how that's going to affect potentially not being with that person because they don't think I want what they want ultimately. So it's like
I think it gets harder as you get older too, right?
I have room, yeah, and I have room to change my mind, but a lot of people don't want to wait and see after we get married and like buy a house together if I ultimately change my mind. Like that's a very clear thing that they're going to want to know about their forever person.
Yeah.
So that's difficult.
I feel like that is really the root of the female dilemma. Like I really do. I feel like this ticking time clock that goes off in our biology, like you don't have all day to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're going to couple with somebody and you don't share, then you're going to waste their time. They're going to waste your time. But like, what a shitty way to go into a relationship that's full and beautiful and amazing is just thinking about, are we wasting each other's time instead of just enjoying this time?
Yeah.
And it's really shitty. And I think the older you get, the more that's going to be an issue.
Yeah.
Or not, or you meet someone.
Or I meet someone that's also
care.
like, yeah, I meet someone that's like, either way sounds good. And I'm like, perfect. But
right.
I mean, that is very rare. And if I love somebody who wants children and I tell them like, sure, maybe in 10 years, that's going to be hard for them to come to terms with if it doesn't happen for my wants, because as a partner, you want to make each other's dreams come true. But I don't want to have a baby to like appease an idea or a vision of family just for that reason. I'm going to want to have a kid when I feel so fulfilled in life and so ready to share that with another child and commit myself fully. And I don't know that that's going to happen in the next 10 years for me.
I just want to throw in a concept though for you, Boo, because I agree with everything you're saying. And I think everything you're feeling is beautiful and valid and like the right path. Yes, the right path. But I just want to throw in something that people say all the time. So it's a cliche. I'm not making this up, but you're never going to be ready. And so I want you to truly know that like, there's not a moment in which you're like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
I am so centered and amazing. I cannot wait to share my gift of my knowledge to the world. Like that day does not happen. You're doing just like wake up and you're like, oh, I'm going to be a mom.
Okay. But I will say that I've had those moments and those epiphany moments with other things in my life. So I don't think that, I mean, it may not happen overnight, but just in the past year, I mean, how much I don't recognize myself a year ago or 2 years ago, I can recognize that now I am much more able to handle this situation and this situation. So if in 5 years I wake up and I'm like, wow, I don't recognize myself 5 years ago, I think I'm ready for this next situation. Like that could be a child, right?
Yeah. No, you're very self-aware and you're very like in tune with your emotions, your strengths, your weaknesses. Like we are sort of equal in that way, which is why we love talking to each other, because we're like little investigators of our own life, right? We like want to investigate and like dig deeper, and we're curious. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have like a leg up in life because you're always going to self-reflect and be like, where am I right now? And how can I do better, be better, all those things. So yeah, there may be a moment in your life where you feel more open to it.
Right. Yes.
But as a parent, I can tell you like every step of the way you're terrified and you can't believe you're reaching like another
for sure
step, and you're like, am I prepared for this? And then you just like figure it out.
Well, I think that's really beautiful, and it's something that I've loved watching you and Greta, is the fact that like you are growing while she's growing, you're learning. Like I think that's beautiful, and that's not what I mean by like you should be fully ready yourself to have a kid, because I don't think that you ever stop learning and discovering when you're a parent, and that's a good thing. But yeah, I love watching that with you. Also, someone said that I look like Greta, and it made me happy.
Ooh, you definitely look like Greta right now in those pigtails.
I know. But I mean, does anyone have, someone said,
Yeah.
I have friends that have had the same thought process and now they're in their 40s and wishing they had kids. Time flies when you get lost in life and it can go by in the blink of an eye. Yeah, that's what's hard about biology. Is like when you get to that stage of life as a woman, it's like, oh, well, I hope it was worth it, and like I hope not having a kid was worth the rest of your life not having one, right?
Also, science has improved so much, right? Freezing our eggs. There's, surrogates and donors, and like it's easier now than ever to have a kid in your 40s. But it's not accessible to everyone. It's extremely expensive. So,
well, it's also like, do you want your kid to be 10 years old and you be 50?
yes, I think that I think that is a normal thing to think. And as I grow older and watch older families, I realize how like non-issue that is.
I guess, I mean, I'm taking it from my one of my best friends. Her dad is in his 70s and she's my age, and she's just like, man, I'm gonna lose my dad before most of my friends are going to, and like that sucks. Like,
yeah, Noah has a college friend whose father was much older, and he died when they were in college.
Yeah, and that's just sad. I don't know.
But at the same time, I have plenty of examples of friends who, are, one's 53, they're still trying.
Wow.
The father's 53, Xander Berkeley is an old dad from Nikita. He has 2 kids.
So my question is, we're talking about dads. What about moms? Is it different when you look at a woman as far as being an older parent?
Yeah, I mean, there's more judgment on women, right? Being older. I mean,
well, there's also this expectation that a mother's role in a child's life is like somehow, bigger or more influential to a child. And so obviously losing a father is a horrible, terrible thing. But but society wise, developmental wise, losing a mother biologically when you're young. But I don't know, that might be a stupid example because men can raise children and have all the developmental importance as well. You're just not physically attached to a male as you are a woman when you're a baby.
I disagree, because think of all the same-sex couples we know that are raising children.
That's what I just said. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
yeah,
like I think that might be wrong. I think it just might be more about the physical attachment from breast to mouth of a woman.
Right. But so many babies that are raised by men, they don't have any their security is the bottle with papa or dada, or there's a different attachment that's equally healthy. So I think if you talk about age, we do seem to put more importance on women being older moms, as opposed to dads are older all the time and they do fine.
Right. So it's kind of like normal that your dad would be older.
What?
It's like kind of more normal and accepted that your dad's older.
Right. But it's like,
why?
We live longer, so we should have babies later.
Yeah.
But, I think all of it comes down to like women. I hope that we can influence our friends, the women in our life, to like, if you don't know, it's fine. If you're young and you have them, it's fine. If you're old and you have them, it's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, someone was saying like it gets scarier as you try older, mostly because of like health risks. It's easier to have a kid when you're younger.
Of course. They call it a geriatric pregnancy when you go to the OB. It's ridiculous. You're like, I'm 35, and they're like, yeah, geriatric. Yeah. I feel like my hesitation with marriage and kids is the inequality and societal gender roles, especially from what I've seen in my circle.
Is the inequality with gender roles within marriage and parenting?
I'm not sure. Are they talking about gender roles in children or gender roles as parents?
I think as a person, like as parents.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the expectation that the woman stays home and the man goes and works, like those are like the oldest narratives in the book. And I think our generation is doing a real great job of changing that. And I think our government kind of needs to
catch up. I feel like in my relationship with Noah, we feel equal because we are equal. like, and we equally take turns, right? Like,
and I think Greta's going to see that and grow up and think that that's what's normal, and then she's going to continue that kind of thing with her own partner in life. Like, I love that that's how your generation is teaching their children about gender roles, because it should be equal.
Yeah. I tell her all the time, because there's a house next door, and they're building this house from scratch. And so every day we go and check in on the workers, and she said, I want to do that. And I said, well, you have to learn, like, those guys they're bigger, so they're strong. And so, like, you need to, like, learn the skills. Because, yeah, because those are full boys do that. I'm a girl. I don't do that. And I was like, no, there's
who taught you that?
But it's amazing, because she lives in a house where mother and father are equal and are friends. We're all a bunch of pansy artists. Like, she's living in this, like, group of people, but then it's what she sees. She sees that men are building that house every day. So men must build the houses. And,
right.
And I say girls can do it. And one of the sweet younger guys who's building the house, he said, we got women on our team. And, they weren't there. I haven't seen them, but he's like, we work with construction women. And she was like, oh, like,
that's good. That's so great. And that's why it's important for her to feel like she can have an open mind about that, and like you're reinforcing the things that the world is going to teach her that are unfortunately out of your control when she leaves the house or when she makes friends of her own. Like, the world is going to also teach her things that you've tried to unteach her or not teach her.
I know, right? Like,
out of your hands at a certain point too. So it's a beautiful thing to be fostering open communication at this age with you, because then when she does learn things that maybe don't sit right with her, she can take it to her mom and dad,
right,
who have raised her as equals, and can feel safe enough to constantly be challenging societal norms that are not helpful.
I also think it's who you surround your kids with, right? Like, your influence on her. I want her to be able to go to people we trust in our family as well, if she doesn't feel comfortable going to me with stuff. So
she better be coming to me with all her drama.
I hope so.
God. Where is she? I want to say hi.
I think she went on a walk with Noah. I have to switch with him because now he's got to work.
Yeah.
And Noah's in development, developing a show. So he's working really hard. Should we take one more question before we go? Yeah. Is there?
I think Haley was on here.
Our cousin Haley?
Yeah.
Oh, cute.
I think she said.
I didn't see her.
She said, I was always super happy being the cool aunt and not having kids. And then I met my person and feel as though I can't wait to have his kids and see us be parents, praying my body works with me. Haley, you're so young still. You're going to be fine.
So cute. She's going to be a great mom too.
She's going to be so good. Oh, she's still here. Yeah. You're going to be such a good mom. And I love that, like, you experienced being an aunt before being a mom, because that's something I think will teach me so much if and when I choose to have children, is that I have helped raise Greta, and I hope I've helped raise Greta a little bit.
Yes.
And I will continue to help raise Greta. And I think that, I mean, I've already learned so much from Greta and from you, Lyndsy. I've learned more from you watching you be a mom. And I think that's the best precursor to my eventual decision I could ever ask for.
Thanks. And I think it's brought us closer. I think it's like, I was showing Greta this picture of you and I when you were a baby, and it would, like, blew her mind that, like, I was holding you on my hip when you were a baby. Like, she just couldn't process it. She was like, das Auntie Boo?
Oh.
Like, I think she said, that's me. And I said, that's you. It's amazing.
So cute. I did want to ask, to end here.
Yeah.
I know that when you got pregnant, and correct me if I'm wrong, did you hope that by you going through the pregnancy and by having Greta, that it would change my mind or inspire me to want children? And were you saddened that it hasn't done that?
No, I have no emotional attachment to your choices.
Okay. Because I remember.
Do you know what I mean? Like that lovingly, like.
Yeah, no, I know. But I remember like you being pregnant and me not being like, this is beautiful. I mean, sometimes I was like, this is beautiful.
You were literally
I was like,
you're huge.
You look like an alien. Like, I was like, Lyndsy, what the hell? Like, I walk into your bathroom and you're like naked after a shower, and I was like,
yeah,
what is happening?
Or like, I mean, the stuff that women have to deal with postpartum is disgusting.
I'm so sorry. I first want to apologize because it is beautiful, but did it ever make you sad that like I wasn't seeing the beauty and like wanting that for myself after seeing someone who I love so dearly go through it?
I mean, I have loved it if you like weren't grossed out by like my whatever was in my bathroom that was freaking you out.
It was just you were pregnant. Like it was just you were pregnant.
Oh, just like when I was pregnant?
Yeah, it was just like your belly. I was just like, your body is like.
Yeah, you were like, whoa.
Yeah. I also had never seen
that's you. And you know what, Hannah, that's what I love about you and our relationship is we're so different.
Mm-hmm.
Like we are very different humans, and we've had a relationship in which we've allowed each other to be different. Like neither one of us are trying to be like, you're thinking wrong.
Yeah.
You know, like I really value your point of view about things. And I want you to always stay true to you to be in my life. So like, if that's how you feel, honestly.
I just like, I feel like selfishly as an older sister, I would want my sister to like watch me as a role model, have this beautiful experience, which it is to have a child. And I would hope to like influence that person that having a baby is a positive rather than this like scary negative, which I don't have this like pregnancy is bad, blah, blah, but I wasn't like completely changed, you know?
You know, what's more exciting is how you feel and how you love Greta. That means so much more to me than the fact that you had zero interest in me being pregnant or like were grossed out by my body changing or like whatever it is that you were like annoying little sister about. Is really irrelevant, because what matters is this person is going to be around for the rest of our lives. And your love for her and your true interest and curiosity about her. Because here's the thing. It's not about you. The way you love Greta is about Greta. And it's about how can I teach her things. You're always excited about, oh, I can't wait to like teach her about space. I can't wait to like show her like aliens and like your quirky stuff. Like you, that's like, that's important. And it's like this selfless thing.
I will say.
Greta, is that you?
I will say that.
Hold on one second.
Okay, I'm just going to say this for the world. I will say that even though I personally am still not aware that I want children, I have definitely, my mind has been changed about, there's my chicken nugget!
Who's that?
Oh!
Who's that?
Look, we have matching hair!
You say hi, Auntie Boo?
Hi, Auntie Boo.
Hi, Greta Bean.
You want to ask me? Say, how are you doing?
How are you doing?
I'm good. You want to say hi to Frank? He's sleeping.
Oh, hi, Frankie. Did you have a nice time with Daddy?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to say bye to Auntie Boo and all these people.
And I saw Leo.
You saw Leo?
I was walking to the beach.
And you saw Leo?
Yeah.
Did you say hi?
Yeah.
That's great. Leo's our neighbor. Okay, let's say goodbye. There's a bunch of people here.
I love this child more than life itself.
Me too.
You know?
He's going to be loved.
Which has definitely changed. You having Greta has changed my view on how much I can love a child. You know?
I love that.
This child more than anything in this whole world, and I don't like kids, right? Like
I love that.
That's insanely beautiful.
We're just chipping away at you until one day. But again, if you don't decide ever to, that's okay too.
I love walking around with Greta though, because everyone thinks I'm her mom because we look so alike.
Yeah, it's true.
It is funny.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone. Greta, do you want to say thanks for joining? Nope.
She's like, I don't know what you're talking about. We're on FaceTime with Auntie Boo.
Yeah? Take you to the beach? Okay, be right there.
Oh, Sydney just joined in and said hi, Greta.
Sydney says hi. I'll be right there. I'm just saying bye. Okay, well, thanks everyone for joining our sister chat.
Yes,
I hope you enjoyed it. We're just, you know, trying to figure it out. That's what we do. We're just trying to figure it all out.
Just figuring it out.
Hannah, I always love talking to you the most. You're my favorite human.
You're my favorite human.
I mean, besides my kid, obviously.
Well, I was your first kid.
You were my first, so there you go.
Literally your first kid.
I love you so much.
You're my favorite sister, and I love you more than anything in the whole world.
I love you.
I love you. Can't wait till you're home.
Okay, I'll see you soon. I'll talk to you. I'll call you later. Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us.